Today I'm going to share with you a super sneaky trick to put some life back into your fizzled up fletching, and I'm going to tackle some common traditional archery questions that I get on a fairly regular basis. Let's get cracking. Hey, Joe McLean here from CatholicHack.com, where I live my life for God and I am passionate about traditional archery. Just yesterday I was out in my favorite ditch trying to shoot 100 yards. I got that brand new target back there from a local archery shop, and I thought, what a fun way to break it in is to fling arrows at it from 100 yards away on my recurve bow with no sights. It didn't work out for me at all. It was quite miserable, actually. It rained, my equipment got wet, I lost an arrow in the process. It was quite ugly, but don't worry, I'll show you some B-roll footage from that, and I'll try to pull that video off here shortly. But I thought I'm going to steam up some water here to help bring back some life into my fletching, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to tackle some questions that I get on a fairly regular basis about traditional archery. Alright, so this is just getting ready to boil, and so as that's coming together, let me answer my first question that I get on a fairly regular basis, and that is, what bow am I shooting? Now, I am shooting a 55-pound draw at 28 inches. It's a Red Stag by Samick. It is 60 inches from tip to tip. It is a recurve, and I've got some fast flight string on it with beaver fur silencers, which need to also be steamed up. This is the bow I shoot most often. I have produced videos on a Samick Sage, plus I have a Ben Pearson, and I've produced videos on a Bear Grizzly, but unfortunately that Bear Grizzly snapped in my hand, and that was quite sad because I loved that Bear Grizzly. But this is the bow that I am shooting most often. Another question that I get fairly regularly is, what arrows am I shooting? And just recently I produced a video on my brand new gold tip carbon arrows. Plus I have these, they're pretty beat up now, but fantastic arrows. This is the traditional only arrow by Easton and Three Rivers Archery. Fantastic arrow. I've linked to it before, but I'll link to it again below. The review video on these. Really great arrow. I've really enjoyed shooting these arrows. But as you can tell, I'm pretty brutal when it comes to my fletching. I don't take good care of them. I don't put a lot of effort and energy into keeping them pristine. I shoot the nonsense out of them, and they get beat up, and it shows. But that's okay. So when you're steaming your arrows up, it doesn't have to be constantly boiling. You just need some steam. So you just put this thing over the steam, and these things will reconstitute. They'll come back, they'll pop up again, the life will kind of come back to them. And yesterday, being out in the rain like that, they really shriveled up on me. So I knew that it might be a good opportunity to bust out some steam and bring some life back to these arrows. Another question that I've received more recently is whether or not the bows that I have reviewed, the Samick Sage and the Red Stag, linked below. I've also reviewed the Bear Grizzly, linked below. And people ask me, are the Samicks still, after having shot them so much now, after having had them and owned them now for a while, do I still recommend them? And the answer to that question is absolutely. They are great bows for the price. Now, I've seen people get some bows online that snapped on them or something. They totally failed on them. Hey, that's going to happen. I've seen bears. I've seen Bear Grizzlies and Super Kodiaks break on an archer after just getting them. So that can happen with any make and model, trust me. Less likely the more expensive the bow is, however, it does still happen. So I really like the Samick product line because they are a great performing bow for the price point. And if you're like me, you just don't have a lot of money. But hey, if you want to support me on Patreon, click there, throw me a couple of bucks every month, maybe I can buy a really nice bear bow or a Black Widow. That'd be super awesome. Tomahawk bow. I mean, there's so many nice bows out there, especially from the custom builders, that it would be so super cool to own. But a lot of guys can't afford that, right? So the best thing you could do is get yourself an affordable bow that you know is durable and will perform very well. And frankly, I've shot thousands of arrows out of the Samick Sage and now the Red Stag, and they're holding up. I mean, they are holding their own. I can't recommend them enough for that reason. Great price, great durability, great performance. Again, I'm linking to those review videos below in case you're interested and you want to check those out. So another question that I've received fairly recently on my archery videos is whether or not shooting in my backyard is a safe activity. I mean, it's a residential area and we certainly do not want to get anybody hurt in the process. That is a fair and legitimate question. So to that end, I've tried to create an environment in which I can shoot my arrows into that target backstop back there and do so in a safe way. So we have several layers of targets back there, plus the boards, plus that curtain backdrop, in order to absorb the energy of the arrows, in order to stop those arrows from leaving my yard. And to do so in a safe way, I'm trying to shoot at a downward angle so that the arrows are going to go into the earth, and not above the fence, or, we don't want them to travel very far. So I'm trying to set it up in a safe way so that I can shoot safely and hurt no one. That's the goal, and I believe that is what we have right now. So yeah, this is already popping up quite nice. Another question I received not too long ago was why I switched from split finger to 3-under. I've shot 3-under in the past, especially when I was string walking, and then I switched to split when I was shooting purely instinctive. But I'm a big fan of trying things out and trying different styles, different setups, just to see what the effects are. I've tried to shoot as many various styles as I possibly could, from gap to string walking to shooting purely instinctive. Right now I'm shooting 32-inch arrows, trying to get a really good FOC on them and seeing what happens and just trying it all out. Yeah, that came back quite nice. Right now I'm shooting 3-under, and the reason why I tried 3-under is because I wanted to get that arrow really close to my eyeball, and I wanted to be able to look straight down that shaft, or look truly over the shaft. I wanted to see what the result would be on my shot groups from right to left. I still look towards instinctive to give me my vertical placement. So looking over the shaft helps me to see in my peripheral vision that right-left placement. And if you didn't catch last week's video, it's linked below. It's all about how I am using a split vision technique. And I am grateful that you're a part of this community, and thank you for watching this video. If you've not done so yet, please subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't, check out last week's video. I'm going to link to it right there and below. And do me a favor, check out my Patreon page if you haven't done so. Become a member of my trad gang. You could really help me to build this channel, to continue to add value to this community, which is one of my passions, one of my goals. Thanks for watching this video and hanging out with me as I try to maintain my arrows and answer some common questions. I am grateful you're a part of this community. Subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, comment below with your best tips on how to maintain your equipment, or if you have any questions for me, please, I would love to answer them. Just leave it in the comm box below. Hey, until the next video, I'm praying that you shoot straight, and I hope you pray for me that I shoot straight. Until then, may God richly bless you. A slacker. There's always at least one that just doesn't behave.